everybody. What's going on? It's another podcast day, and I'm here with my client and good friend, Courtney. Courtney, how's it going?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm awesome. It's the new
Good.
year.
Yes. Oh my
Oh
gosh,
my
how?
goodness, right? No kidding, right? It seems like just the other day it was this time 2022 and
Yes.
we were setting goals and all that fun stuff, and here it is
Yep.
another year. So, um it's funny, I know from a personal trainer aspect, the new year is chaos.
Yes.
I mean, you're just overwhelmed with existing clients, new clients. How do you
Mhm.
keep all that straight?
It's a really exciting time, especially after the holidays, because I feel like there's a little natural slump that occurs. And I kind of am happy that it happens, to be honest, because I want people to be present with their families and not freak out about eating perfectly during the holidays and working out. You have to find that balance. But then after the new year, everybody comes in with their new goals. They're all fired up. So it's been a learning curve. I'll say that because this time last year I was still sort of getting my footing on how to be a coach. So I didn't have as many clients. So currently I'm sitting at 14, not all private, some are group clients. So it's been 14 women with 14 different habits to build together and individual lifestyles to adjust with. So it's been hard, but it's been fun. Like literally, this is what I live for. I love the personalized feedback I can give my people, and that's why I do what I do. So it's been really fun.
And you kind of
Yeah.
thrive in the chaos a little bit though, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. If you don't know, if you're listening, I'm a mom of two. I have a 5-year old and a 3-year old. So literally, chaos is like my middle name right now. And I call my son a wrecking ball, literally. So if it wasn't chaotic, I would be kind of bored. Honestly, that's just how I am. I'm used to being busy. I just love keeping a full schedule with family and business. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's part of the fun.
That's right. That's right. But you handle it all so well. Like you make it
Oh,
look
thanks.
easy. So I mean, like you got it.
Well, thank you, because it
Yeah.
really doesn't feel easy. It feels like I'm a duck
Right.
paddling and maybe underneath I'm freaking out, but I'm glad I look like I got it together.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So before we go too much farther, let's introduce the audience to who you are and
Sure.
what you do. We kind of jumped right in and
Yeah.
we kind of glossed right over that. So
That's
give
great.
everybody the background on Body Fit by Courtney and
Yeah.
just what you do and how to reach you.
Sure. So Body Fit by Courtney is still kind of a baby. It's a relatively new company, and I'm very proud of it because I used to be a music teacher by trade, by degree. I went to school for music education, and then I shifted into stay at home mom life. And then I got a little antsy, and I also did not really want to go back into the classroom. I love teaching, and it's a sacred job. I really think it is, but it just was not something that was kind of like firing me up anymore. So I was like, what can I do? What do I love to do that I can monetize? And I love fitness my whole life. I've always been somebody who moves and prides myself in staying active and does a lot of hobbies like dance, gymnastics, all of that growing up. So I'm like, maybe I can become a personal trainer. So through the pandemic, I got certified, and I started out just sort of giving free value on social media. And then it turned into private coaching. And then it turned into coming up with courses and guides and group coaching now. So it's been a lot. I've been learning as I go. It's been terrifying and exciting. But I mean, that's really the way I feel like I learn best, is just jumping in and figuring it out after I'm already in. So yeah, I'm excited, and it's been an honor to see it grow and be well received by my friends and family. And now it's sort of branching out into people I don't know now becoming
Right.
my clients. So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. And yeah, I love serving women specifically and helping them become healthier, of course, and stronger, but focusing on energy, confidence, vibrance, and just being internally healthy as well. And then using fitness and nutrition as the vehicle to sort of get them there. So, yeah,
Well, and you kind of mentioned it, you mentioned that internal struggle, right? And
yeah,
you kind of approach your fitness programs from a very unique angle that I think is very important,
yeah, thanks.
because we're all unfit for a certain reason, right?
Yes.
Like, I think there's all, and you can put those simple base things over the top, like, oh, I'm too busy. No, you're
Yeah.
not too busy. Let's
Right.
dig down deeper. So talk to the
Exactly.
audience a little bit about that. Like, you kind of
Sure.
have a very unique approach that I think is fantastic.
Well, thank you for saying that. And yeah, I think a lot of physical, not just a lot, most of our physical health is tied deeply into our internal health. I truly think that a lot of it's like psychological. And most of my coaching calls are, we barely talk about their workouts and what they ate in the week. It always ends up being what sort of stress they're under at work or with their spouse or with their kids, or what sort of just stressors of life, because we're all enduring a lot of stress right now in this day and age, are what is permeating and affecting them and keeping them from prioritizing themselves. So I literally think that if you are only focused on the outside going in, then you're not going to see the results you want. And even if you do, they may not sustain over the long term. So
Right.
that's just my whole mission statement, is making sure my women specifically, I have had a male client who is awesome, but I specifically work with women because I just feel like it's a safe space for women to come to another woman. And I want them to feel heard and seen and validated in all of the stress and all the emotions that we all have, and then use that in a creative way and be really strategic with them in their specific environment and stress to then find a way to make fitness and health work for the long term, so it's a
Right.
very sustainable process.
Well, and I think that's the most important key, right? It's the
Yeah.
sustainability of it
Oh
all.
yeah.
Um, you know, fitness is a long-term thing,
Yes.
and I think you kind of approached it there. Like, it's less about the workouts and all of that. It's what is preventing you from taking care of yourself. And I think that's a
Yeah.
very unique and excellent approach, because that's the root, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you approach that root concern first and you figure out why they're not prioritizing themselves or why they don't support themselves, and you can work on that, then everything else just kind of seems secondary nature, right? Like,
Yeah.
the
Totally.
the ability to suck it up, and well, and that's a tough term. I mean, that's a very easy term, but
Sure.
the ability to just move forward and do, treat yourself right. And I think that's a
Exactly.
lot of it. I mean, and I think that's a great approach, in working with you over the time that we've been working together. That's been that aha moment that I kind of took away. But
That's
not
great.
only just in what you do with your brand, but with how I approach my own personal fitness journey.
Yeah.
And
Love
I
that.
think that's great.
Thank
And there's so much focus on the short term, and here we
you.
are in the new year and
Yeah.
resolutions, short
Oh
term
my
central,
gosh. I
because
hate the word resolutions.
I know, right?
It's like triggering.
I know. But I will admit, so Mrs. Savage and I are doing a Mind Your Macros 6-week course right now.
All right. That's
Uh,
good.
well, it's great. It's great. But you get so hung up on those little things,
I
right?
know.
Like, I think I've gone up and down a pound and a quarter, maybe 3 or 4 times this week.
I
That pound
know.
and a quarter goes away, it comes back.
Yep.
So that frustration starts to creep in, right? How do
Mhm.
you negate some of that frustration with your clients this time of year?
Well, first off, I applaud you for actually doing a course, that you're getting it right. Like people who say, this is my goal, this is my resolution, and then they have no strategy and they just fumble around either alone, or maybe they do have a support group, but they're looking for that quick fix. That's not the right way to do it. But I'm not anti-resolution completely if you're doing it in a way with social support, with structure, and knowing that there is going to be ups and downs in the process. So you're okay. I give
Yeah.
you a thumbs up for your resolution type. But yeah, I mean, remind me the question again. How do I
Well, no,
avoid
just
that? Like,
well, we know this time of year, right? Like, a lot of
yeah,
people fall off, and they fall off very quickly, right? Like, they
yes,
get
yes.
frustrated within that first week, and then they
Mm-hmm.
fall off,
Yep.
I can't I saw something not too long ago that talks about the average length of like a New Year's
Oh,
resolution,
sure.
and it escapes me right now.
So New Year's resolutions, the biggest problem is we don't have the support baked into the process, the strategy, but also people give up just shy of it becoming a habit. So generally speaking, and there's variance based on person to person, but on average, it takes about 21 days for a habit to stick. And a lot of people are only getting about 1 or 2 weeks into their resolution and then dropping off. Some people make it further, but they're still not getting those habits baked into the process. And that's why you see the gyms, they get super full the beginning of January, and then it starts to kind of taper away end of January, beginning of February. Sadly, people make jokes about that. They're like, oh my gosh, it's so full, but I love seeing it full. And I just
Yeah.
wish people could have those habits kind of baked into the process instead of just looking at the outcome and the product and think about the process. So to backtrack, how I support my clients is I'm basically a habit coach instead of fitness and nutrition specifically. We always focus on habits. I always hear what their goal is first. Maybe you do have a weight loss goal. Maybe you do have a goal to eat more protein or to whatever it might be, competition or fit into the dress, whatever it is, that's great. It's not bad to have a goal or an outcome, but then I reverse engineer it and think about, okay, now let's think about the habits that you need to do every day to support that, and not just let's grind it out and work out 7 days a week. And then you beat yourself to a pulp and you're exhausted and burn out. So I think of myself as just like habit coach. And that's what I think most people need to do to support those resolutions.
No, that's great. I mean,
Yeah.
breaking it down into the small steps, right? Like
Yep.
what is that one thing I can do habitually
Yep.
that's going to move me towards the goal? I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Because I feel like that's the thing, right? Like you said, people get overwhelmed,
Yep.
and then, I think and they're so quick to give up, right? It's always
Yeah.
oh, well, I had a cheat meal that turned into a cheat day that turned into a
No.
cheat week. I just
Yep.
need you like, that's it. I can't do it. No,
It's like you pop all 4 tires instead of just fixing the leak in the one tire is what you're
right?
doing then,
There you go.
So I do hate that. And I also think another thing to think about is becoming the type of person instead of trying to do the things. Like, who is the person who hits that goal? Give me some adjectives to describe that type of person who
Yeah.
is the person who lost 25 pounds. They're dedicated, they're disciplined, they're ambitious. And so then, okay, I need to be that myself and say, I am this type of person. And then the habits come more naturally. Because if you're not embodying it and you don't feel like that type of a person, then you're going to self-sabotage and you're going to say, well, I'm just going to give up and I can't do it. So yeah, I envisioning your like ideal self is
Yeah.
another one that I do a lot.
I like that. I like it. Kind of
Yeah.
empowering yourself to be the icon that you want,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
people are really quick to come up with those common objections, right? Like, they're
Yes.
so quick to make these excuses of, well, I don't have any time. Well, I don't feel like it.
Yep.
How do you help combat some of those things, right? Is it
Sure.
just pushing that icon ahead, or
So nobody has the time or energy. I mean, all of the time. Even I don't. Like, generally, I can work out a little easier than other people because I'm a self-employed person who coaches fitness. So it's part of my job. And I can say I'm going to the gym now because being fit is something I want to model for others. So yes, that's a little bit of an exception, but I could come up with those same objections and excuses just like anybody else. So I think it's a balance of two things. You have to raise the necessity a little bit in terms of, am I really truly lacking time or am I wasting time somewhere else? And auditing your time and looking at your screen time on your phone is super humbling and sometimes nauseating, if I'm
right,
being honest. As somebody
right,
who's self-employed on my phone, it's like, I just want to chuck my phone across the room sometimes. But I mean, sometimes you sit there for 20 minutes scrolling Instagram reels and then you say you don't have time for a 20-minute workout. So
right,
there's like a mixture of auditing your own time, tough love, and telling people to like make the time. But also, there are people who exist who truly don't have the time. But then that's like a totally different conversation that you need to take stuff off your plate. You need to delegate. You need to realize you're not the only person who can make your household run. Like, you can ask for support from husband, mother-in-law, childcare workers. For me, I live far from family, so I never was able to ask for help. But then I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have to pay money and get help
right.
to feel more supported, to free up time. So there's always a solution. to that time problem, you just have to be really strategic and creative with your own given circumstance. And then know that it doesn't have to be like 5 days a week in the gym for 2 hours a piece. That's not what everybody has to do.
Okay.
Maybe you want to be a bodybuilder competition athlete, then sure. But for me, I work out 3 days, 50 to 60 minutes. That's it, full body, because that's the time I have. And I can see great gains, but also overall health is my goal right now. So you don't have to think it's a huge investment. It can be short and effective. So yeah, that's how I would combat the time one. Do you want me to talk about the energy one too? The other
Well,
one?
well, yeah, but so because I feel like the time thing you kind of hit the nail on the head, right? Like
Yeah.
with our schedules, me just one being a workaholic, and trust me, that phone in your hand,
Nope.
where
Yep.
Instagram becomes a weapon for your business.
Sure. Yep.
Oh, the time, the t- uh,
The
it
time
almost like,
suck.
oh, it's such a time suck,
Yep.
but in your own mind you start to deflect it with,
Hmm.
well, I'm really doing
I'm
business.
doing market research or
Okay,
getting
sure you
ideas
are,
for
right?
trends.
Yeah,
No.
right? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
But I
I
mean,
know.
there is a certain point, like you said, that tough love, you kinda have to check out and be like, "Okay,
Yes.
cool."
Yes. And
Like,
not be a jerk to yourself. Like if you were to cancel on a friend last minute who you were meeting for like a coffee date, they would probably be a little annoyed at you and maybe forgive you. But if it was like consistently you did that, that would
oh,
be
yeah.
a jerk move. So why are we doing that to ourselves all the time, especially with fitness? It's what I see most often. It's like on the end of our list of to-do items. And it shouldn't be that way. Some days it can be a little lower. There's other non-negotiables, but you have to stop canceling on yourself and treat that appointment with yourself for your workout or meal prep or whatever as an appointment, as a non-negotiable, and
Yeah.
raise the necessity. So
And I think
yeah.
you're right too, like, some people feel like they have to, it's like, if I don't go to the gym 5 days a week, then that's, I have to go 5 days a week, 6
Yeah,
days,
it's
7
not
days, whatever.
worth it or
It's really
whatever.
not,
Yeah.
yeah, so we kinda had that same one too, one, me being a workaholic, and
Hmm.
then, my wife working in healthcare where she pulls a 12-hour shift. Well, come 7:30 at night, 8 o'clock at night, going to the gym is counterproductive because, you've
Yes.
already put in a 14-hour day.
Yeah.
Forcing yourself to work out for an hour and a half is only gonna cause damage more than
Yeah.
it
She
is
needs
anything else.
recovery at
Right.
that point. Yeah.
So, but then we started looking at it, well, her days off, it's either, 2 days off or 3
Hmm.
days off or 4 days
Yep.
off during the week based on her rotation.
Yep.
So, she kinda gave herself a little grace and said, "Well, I'm only
Good.
gonna work out on the
Hmm.
days I'm off because I can
Good.
make time," right? And that's the thing, like you said, it's all
Perfect.
about making time.
Exactly.
And that kinda works into that energy, right? Like, you
Yeah.
kinda mentioned it earlier, you don't always have the energy.
Oh, no, mental or physical. I mean, most days I'm physically tired because young kids, still
Yeah,
not consistently sleeping. So that's why I'm not doing the 5, 6 day splits right now. Because like you said, you have to be realistic with your current situation and know that with physical sleep, that's higher on the pyramid in my mind of importance than working out. If you're not sleeping, your hormones are going to be whack, your recovery is going to be low, you're more prone to injury. You can't even make the muscle that you want to make from the workout if you're not sleeping. So the physical energy is always a struggle for me. So you have to be realistic with your programming, and make it not overwhelming so that you're like, I cannot even do that. But if I schedule a 20-minute body weight only or 5, 10 pound dumbbell workout for my client who's not sleeping great, that's going to be better for them than like go to the gym and do the 135-pound
right.
deadlift today. So the physical energy we can work with strategically. The mental energy, like the motivation, that always comes and goes, even for me as a trainer. So that's when you have to keep your why super focused and at the forefront. Like, why did you begin this journey? And if it's on a physical or aesthetic type of a reason, that's okay, but that's going to run out real fast. Like your motivation is going to go away real fast. It has to be deeper than that. Like I'm working with a mom right now who first off started out wanting like a weight loss goal, aesthetic goal, but then she's like, honestly, both my parents have heart disease in their gene pools. and I don't want to have a heart attack when I'm 55 or 60.
Yeah.
And I also want to be able to pick up my kids when I get old, and I want to be able to stand up out of the chair easier when I get older. So those type of a why, like keeping it at the forefront, can help you stay motivated. But just at the end of the day, you have to know that action comes before motivation most of the time. Like motivation doesn't fall out of the sky. You got to get up and do the thing. And then you want to do the thing again because you're like, oh, that felt good. Like I'm proud of
Right.
myself. I
Yeah.
feel better physically and mentally. So an object in motion kind of stays in motion.
That's great. No, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's true. Like for me, very much like your client, for me, it's, my own mother. She's,
Mm-hmm.
predisposed for diabetes and high blood pressure and other things. But at the same time, my mom's been battling to lose that quote unquote 50 pounds for 40 years
Yeah.
now.
Oh,
Right.
man.
And
Yeah.
and I don't want to be
Mm-mm.
being that person that carries around that extra 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Like in the last couple of years, it's come to me to say, I'm not gonna. Uh, it stops now,
Yeah.
right? It stops now. Like
Breaking the generational curse.
because I caught myself saying, well, if I could only lose 50 pounds, and I was like, nope, we're not gonna say that.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah,
gonna.
exactly.
We're not just gonna say it and not make any action on it. We're gonna make action on it.
That's super powerful. And knowing that you can do it in a slow burn way,
Right.
like you're doing, where it's like, I don't have to lose it all at once. I can do it
No.
over the course of a year
A
or two
year, 2 years. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and make
Pound a
it
week. Right.
last, and then you really break the chain, because regaining and losing and regaining and losing and constantly dieting is also not really, it's not good for you.
Right.
And it's good to just do it the right way, in that deep health way, so that you don't have to ever do it again. And then it's done for your life.
Well, and I think for most average Americans, that's kind of how it goes, right? Because I mean, I
Yeah.
can sit down and I can look at seasons in my life where,
Mhm.
for all intents and purposes, everything was great and everything was perfect. And oh, I was in the
Yeah.
best shape of my life at 18 and 22 and 30 and 35. And then you're like,
Mhm.
but wait, I only had it for like a month. I
I
only had it
know.
for a year, right? And then life
Yep.
gets in the way, some sort of traumatic life experience happens, and then you're
Yep.
right back to the struggle again, right?
Exactly.
And that's what I love about your approach with your
Thank
clients
you.
is I think that addressing that first, everything else becomes a byproduct.
Ah, I totally agree.
Um,
Thank you.
and I think that's important, right? Like I think like for us, my wife and I, we enrolled in a 6-week course with a trainer or
Yeah.
a nutritionist.
Yeah.
There's
Good.
a training program attached to it, but it's more nutrition than it is anything else.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like that's very important for people who are serious about making a change in their life,
Yeah.
that they find a coach, but that's not always the quick fix, is it?
Mm-mm. No. And you have to take autonomy of your own health journey, because even hiring a coach, while I think it is often, like you said, the essential next step or even first step, I wish more people would come to the coach first, even though it's a little bit more of an investment than the 30-day challenge, or like the going to the gym. And the gym membership might be cheap, but the personal trainer is too expensive. But honestly,
Right.
you have to think that's an investment for your future. But yeah, you have to know that it's almost like renter versus a homeowner. Like you can have it all looking pretty on the outside, and the coach can give you the program, but you have to take ownership, or else it's not going to click and stick with you. And that's kind of the renter versus owner mentality. You have to take ownership, and you have to meet your coach halfway, if not more, and
Right.
put in the work and show up for the calls and plan the workouts and communicate honestly with your coach when you're struggling, as well as when you're doing the awesome stuff, so that they can help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too. I've always found that cash coincides with my motivation.
Yep.
Uh, you know,
Skin in the game.
yeah, right. My accountability goes where my wallet goes.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And to your point, like I think if people would truly focus on, like you said, like if you're serious about getting healthy, don't just go to the gym and wing it,
Yeah.
right? Find that trainer And
Mhm.
that's going to be your lifeline. You're going to get far farther,
Yep.
farther,
Or further.
far farther than you would if you were just going it alone. And I think that's
Exactly.
important, right? Because it's really
Mhm.
honestly like when you break down your program cost,
Yep.
you can find that. I mean, you can cut back on your Starbucks, you can cut back on a Netflix and you
Yes.
can find it, right?
Oh my gosh,
Um,
people will pay the same amount for an iPhone that my whole like a few months of my coaching may cost, but then they think of it in a different light and it seems like too much. But it's all
right.
perspective, and it's not a cost, it's an investment. That's what you have to remember with coaching is you're not just paying for something one time and then it's one and done. It's like you could be changing the habits and the neurons in your brain forever. So it's an investment
Yeah.
for the rest of your life if you play your cards right and actually put the skin in the game too
Right.
and really invest in it mentally as well as like financially.
Well, and I think there's always something too, right? Like, sure, over this 12-week period, we accomplished X,
Yeah.
but what's the next evolution, right? And I think that's one of the great things about having a personal trainer is
Yeah.
you're always going to have someone to find a solution to the next problem. Because there's always,
Exactly.
again, getting back to that, there have been seasons in everyone's life where you were in shape or you were fit, but then
Hmm.
you lost it all,
Hmm.
and that
Yep.
moment where you're about to lose it all. I think that's where a personal trainer is so important to come in
Yeah.
and say, I see the struggle,
Hmm.
let's fix the struggle, right?
Yeah. And then
uh,
the outside looking in, sometimes it's hard to see that when you're inside of it.
right.
So a really fun honor of mine is I don't like to see my clients struggle, but I love to be able to be with them and alongside them through the struggles so that I can kind of objectively hover above and say, like, this looks really big and overwhelming right now, but there is a solution. There's a few solutions and kind of walking you through it so you don't feel alone. Cause I mean, that's human connection is really at the end of the day why it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And what everything's all about is connecting with other humans. And that's why coaching is so powerful.
I think it's great. Well, so if someone would like to join the fam,
Yeah.
and how are they going to find you?
Sure. So I'm on Instagram primarily right now, maybe going to branch out to other places in the future, but Instagram is where I live. So you can find me at Body Fit by Courtney. And I do my very best every week to post multiple times. So even if at the end of the day they're not ready to bite the bullet, they can still get free value there, which I think is a great place to start for people who are on the fence. At least you're getting good science backed quality nutrition and fitness and mindset advice there. But then if you want to go deeper, you can always click the link in my bio and inquire about either one of my guides that I've created, and there's many more in the works,
Awesome.
or group coaching, which is a kind of a medium tier price point. So you can put a little skin in the game, have community support around you, other women. And then the highest price point, but the most effective would be my private coaching. And you can find all that in the bio under my picture on Instagram.
Awesome. And I will admit, your nurturing content is fantastic on Instagram. I
Oh,
think,
thank you.
I mean, you're always there with something new and something fresh and something insightful. So,
Yeah, I
um,
love my people. I want them to feel like they deserve to still get a lot out of me. I don't want it to feel like they have to buy to get good quality advice from me
yeah,
because I at the end of the day that's what it's about. I want people to feel like they know what to do to get healthier. So that's what I truly want. So I'm glad. Thank you for that feedback. That means a lot.
yeah, no, no, my pleasure. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for being on. It
Oh,
has been great
thanks.
having you, and I'm sure we will talk again.
Of course.
If not, we will probably shoot very, very soon in the near future. So,
Yeah, come to
thanks.
Nashville and take my pictures. That would be super fun. I should come
That's
back to Johnson City though soon too.
well, there you go.
You're awesome.
Well,
But thank you.
thank
It's
you.
been fun having you here, and I hope to see some of you over on my Instagram.
Awesome.